Vanakkam, welcome back to Ready Steady Comedy. We are here after a short break, so thank you for being with us again. Today I'd like to talk to you about television, that extraordinary commodity. After all, it is pretty much a commodity now. It's in every home. Paal, Thair, Arisi, Paruppu, Lamangra, Mari, television is part of every home. It's probably, in fact, one of the first things that a baby learns about shortly after birth. Paal, Amma, nurse, adukapram television, and after 3 or 4 days, Appa, smartphone, rest of the home. So, the other day I was at somebody's house, and there was a baby about a year old, and the husband was just coming home. I was already there, and the baby started looking at the TV and shouting, "Appa, Appa." There was no Appa on the screen, but Arnab Goswami was there with his news. I mean, it's something that happens all the time. It has happened even to me at supermarkets or so on. With young children. So the lady could have just left it at that, but she found a reason to try and justify it. So she looked at me with not a little embarrassment and said, "Illa, Sureshum ivar mariye clean shavana irukkiradunala." I said, that's fine. And in the time la dhaan avaru office la indu varu adanal konjam confused. I said, "Parvallama, it's all right. Please be comfortable." So, that's the kind of impact TV tends to make on children and even the rest of us. TV, of course, it's a very versatile commodity. It's not anymore just for entertainment or information. அதுக்கு பல யூஸ் இருக்கு. If you have a fight at home with your spouse, it gives you a chance to shut yourself in your room, slam the door, and then watch TV. ஒரு அரை மணி நேரத்துக்கு அப்புறம் the fight will subside and then you can come out. Or if you have guests at home and you find that the conversation is not flowing as smoothly as it should, there's always the IPL match that you can watch and keep things going. If you're a student and if you get poor marks in your exam paper, you can always blame the rest of the family for watching too much television and hindering your progress. Or again, if you're studying for your exams and want a short break, you can come out of your room, watch a little TV before heading back in to do some more work. So, it helps in so many different ways. Or even earlier during election time, political parties used to distribute television sets free of charge, saying, "Please vote for us." Now, of course, that has stopped because everybody has a television set nowadays. But you see, TV wasn't always like this. I saw my first television set when I was about 14 years old. Yeah, 14 வயசுல தான் I saw my first television set. I was aware of it, I had seen pictures of it, I had seen it in comic books, but the first time I set my eyes on a TV was when I was 14. We had just moved from Udupi to Delhi, and it wasn't something I was looking forward to. And 10th class la வந்து when you move to a different city and have to learn a new language, it's not very much fun. But the one thing that kept me motivated was the fact that Delhi Kepona, I knew that sooner or later we would have a TV at home. So that kept me going. And shortly after reaching Delhi, we started pressurizing my father to buy us a TV for home. He was very reluctant. He said, "வேண்டாண்டா, நீ 10th class படிச்சுட்டு இருக்க, ஹிந்தி வேற கற்றுக்கணும், டிஸ்ட்ராக்ட் ஆகிடும்" அப்படின்ட்டு. And he was right, because எனக்கு சுத்தமா ஹிந்தி தெரியாது. The only Hindi I knew at that time was snatches of dialogues from the film Sholay, which I had watched 2 or 3 times in the last few years. And more than that, a friend of mine in Udupi had this gramophone record of Sholay music and dialogues. Now, there was one little snatch of music from the film, the title music, that I was very fond of. I don't know if you remember that, but it used to go. Like that. I was very fond of that, and Adhikave I used to listen to that record, and I happened to hear the dialogues as well, so I knew a few words from there. Are o Samba, kitne naam rakha hai re sarkar hum par? That, or Sanjeev Kumar's Isliye ke loha lohe ko kaatta hai. And a few other words. That was all the Hindi I knew. So my father was perfectly justified in saying distract idol. But how could TV of those days distract us? It was there only for 4 hours. It started with a program called Krishi Darshan, which was about seeds and irrigation and things. Then they had a few governmental programs, family planning, that kind of thing. 8 maniki we had the Hindi news, 9 maniki we had the English news, and in between we had a 10-minute program on missing people. So in a nutshell, that was pretty much what TV was those days. But of course, I didn't tell my father that, because then he would have said, "Appa enthukku TV, there's no entertainment, why do you even want to take a chance and get a TV at home?" So I kept on pushing for it, and finally in the second month in Delhi, a TV landed up at home. It was a huge box. It wasn't like television sets of today, which you can just fix on the wall, flat TV. Abdillah, it was a huge like a cuboid box with a stand, and it came with a wooden collapsible door. So shortly after we got it, my mother went and put a tablecloth on top of the TV to sort of protect it, and from time to time she would clean the screen to remove any speck of dust that might be on it. And it was my job at the end of the evening to go and shut the TV. And for about a few hours after we got the television set, we didn't even feel the urge to switch it on. We were content just gazing at it fondly, feasting our eyes on it, and just being immensely happy that we had a TV at home. And then, of course, we got round to watching it. The only program that I really looked forward to was a 20-minute program which we had once a week on Wednesday. It was called Chitrahar, and it was a compilation of old Hindi film songs from the 1940s and 1950s, not even 60s. They didn't even venture into the Aradhana, Kati Patang era. No, only 40s and 50s Hindi film songs, and once a week. But it was still something we looked forward to. And then again, once a week, I think we had a South Indian regional film songs. So these were really the only 2 programs I was keen on. Maybe there was a quiz show, sports quiz or something like that. I used to watch that as well. And of course, on Sundays we had this incredibly sad black and white. Of course, everything was in black and white. Of course, we didn't have color TV yet those days. So watching a cricket match, for example, was like looking at a dozen people running around in a snowstorm. That's how it was. And I was telling you about the Sunday film. It was invariably an extremely dismal, sad film. It would have children sitting in the living room, cross-legged with plates, empty plates in front of them, and an elderly mother, scratching the bottom of the surface of the rice jar in the kitchen. Something like that, week after week after week. So Sunday evenings used to be a terrible time in most homes, and definitely in our home. Because as it is, I would be worrying about going to school the next morning, Monday morning. My father would similarly be worrying about going to office Monday morning, and then we had this, very very sad Hindi film. Not only that, in black and white, it made it seem all the more dismal. And then we had a whole lot of people in the neighborhood, those who didn't have television. They and their families would land up at home. Our Dhobi, for example, who lived not very far away, he would come with his wife and 2 or 3 children, some friends. So invariably there would be about 20, 22 people crammed into our living room watching this awful film. Things used to be very different. The news, for example, newsreaders had to be in those days presentable. They needed to have a very good voice and a certain amount of polish, and be well dressed, tie, suit, or kanjivaram saris, all of that. And of course, we're a far cry from newsreaders of today, where none of these qualifications matter. The only thing that you need now is a high-pitched voice, I guess. So the TV studio, I think, also used to be infested with flies in those days. So very often you would see a fly, moving around, trying to settle down on the newsreader's face, and quite often it did. If you see some news clippings from those days, you might well find the newsreader going, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi today. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi today met with Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. Very common. Another thing was the TV coverage, cricket matches, was a far cry from what we see nowadays. Now, if the cameraman doesn't get one particular angle of a catch, then we think the coverage is terrible. But no, those days there was only one camera angle, and you would see the 1 over, you would see the bowler running towards you. The next over, the bowler would be running away from you, because you didn't even have 2 different cameras. So there was just one camera, and there was no action replay or anything of that sort. And the odd thing was, even when action replays did come to India, that was in the 80s, it would come at it would be played at the same speed. It wasn't in slow motion. So I remember once in the 80s watching a match with a neighbor of ours. He had come home, and there was this bowler who had bowled wide outside the off stump, and the batsman hit it for 4, driving it to square cover region. And then they showed a replay at the same speed, mind you, and then showed it again. And this Mama got very exasperated, and he said, "Seriana loose arpam polruke in the bowler. Che, adhe mari tirpi potunrukan, avanu 4 adichunrukan." I said, "No, uncle, it's tirpi podla. It's the same ball. They're showing an action replay. Adanda solren. Tirpi is replaying the same ball, and the batsman is going on hitting." I said, "No, uncle, it's the same ball. He's not bowling it again. They are just showing the same clip a second and a third time." "What are you saying, da? That ball is already over. No. How can they show it again?" "No, it's a new technique, uncle. It's called action replay. They capture an action and then they show it again for us to understand how it worked." "Oh, so that ball we are able to see now?" Yes. It's like taking a picture of you, say yesterday, and then showing it to you today. It's possible. This is a new technology, uncle." "Oh, fantastic. Oh, technology has gone a long way. This is almost like time travel." So that's how TV used to be those days, and we're very lucky that the news notwithstanding, we have so many different options today. So that's it for now. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.